Okay. For the record, could I have your full name and could you spell it for me?
C-O-L period. Bruce, B-R-U-C-E-H-A-M-P-T-O-N.
Retired, should we put that in there?
R-E-T, parentheses, R-E-T, period, parentheses.
Nice.
Parenthetically correct.
So tell
Persnippety.
Tell me how you see the energy of music.
Boy, that's a tough question. The energy of music. It's all colors. I don't want to sound pretentious. It's been said before, but it's never the note. It's a space in between the note, and it's a silence in between the sound. And I don't know what good music is, and I don't know what makes music good. But it's always comes down to the intent. A lot of people are great at playing, but there's no story there. There's no reason to do it, it seems. And I have no really understanding of what makes it good to anyone. I know what makes it good to me. It's usually the emotional content.
And so a lot of people say there's art and music. Do you see those as separate or the same?
Wow, it's all the same thing to me. I mean, I don't know what art is necessarily. Art and music it's the same thing. I mean, you're creating sound sculptures or, you know, there's so much to music, so many levels of it, you know, whether you're painting with a toothbrush or painting with a drum, you know, it's all painting to me. And it can be very pedantic at times, but it's still painting.
And so then we get to Scramble, of course. How do you have a theory about how he's working in the space that he's existing?
Well, he's the only person I know that's never in a state of becoming. He is. And he always was, and he is more than he was. And most people become, but he never became. He is. And it's amazing to watch him. And I never get to see the front of it, but I see the back of it, and it's got more energy than anybody.
As you know, you're obviously a musician primarily. Do you do visual art as well, or are you?
Yeah, I enjoy doing it. Nobody likes it but me and 3 other people, but those 3 like it, and I have a problem with gravity, and I come from a chlorophyll breathing nature, and I enjoy drawing a lot and painting a lot, and it looks like a 3-year-old who was dropped out of an airplane.
So, how is it like you come to see Scramble's work at the end of your set? You have a certain loading of emotion over that set you just performed and how it went, but what is your impression when you see these paintings?
Boy, that's a loaded question.
Well, here, let me put it in a different context.
Okay.
A lot of people try to describe the difference between, say, looking at photographs of a show, looking at video, multiple cameras of a show, and then seeing Scramble's work. And I'm trying to differentiate between those and the experience of the musician.
I don't have a good answer. Give me a year on that.
Okay.
And
get back to me.
I'll get back to you.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, can you describe his work or maybe the style of it a little for me, just in a practical
I guess they can put labels on it. It's him.
Yeah.
You know immediately it's him.
Yeah.
And the first time I saw him, I went, this cat's weirder than I am or anybody else I've ever seen. And I like that aspect of he was a total different approach. And I guess I've known him, 12 years or so, and I never seen anybody do it. And his color scheme, I don't know art very well, but it's quite amazing to me. And I look at his paintings for a long time, and it just, it's him. I mean, that's what music is about, is to be able to play yourself, and he plays himself as good as anybody. And he certainly has time, tone, and space as well as anybody I know. And it's great music. I mean, the guy's actually magical at what he does.
Yeah.
And it's always interesting, to say the least.
That's good.
I don't want to live in his brain.
I have been for a few days. We figured that the other day that we have put our hands on at least 650 paintings in the last week, moving stuff from one location to another.
Good gosh, 650 paintings.
That's just a proportion.
Has he been doing this since he was a kid, or?
He started the live thing in the 90s, early 90s.
Yeah.
But he's been comic booking and sketching since he was a little guy,
Yeah, I mean, I don't like talented people, and he's certainly got it, man. He's one of those guys good enough to be humble. There are not many. Yeah, he's got it, to me, you look at the majority's taste, and it usually, I don't think they would really like it too much, but I think he sets the majority taste, though, eventually they'll dig it.
Well, I found one of the first things we shot for the film was in June at the Arvada Art Center, big, beautiful art center in Arvada, very suburban. We did the Colorado Symphony. And it was interesting to watch people who aren't in the jam band scene kind of get the vibe of the paintings. And that's the thing that interests me about it. And the question I asked you earlier is that you look at it and you get a sense for what it was that night, the setting, the feeling, the crowd energy. And so along those lines, several of the musicians have talked about that energy relationship between the band and the audience. How do you see that relationship for yourself?
Well, good. Now you ask it a different way, and it's been a year later. So, I coming off stage, I'm not down for about 30 minutes. So, I don't know. It is not. I don't see. I can't talk for about 30 minutes afterward. I need 30 minutes to get grounded. But when I look at it, like I was saying, a long time, and there's nothing else like it, or I haven't seen anything else like it. And it's the worst thing you can say about anybody. It's interesting. That's a polite way of brushing it off. It's more than interesting. It has, once again, depth and color schemes I've never seen.
Yeah.
And it's I don't know where he's pulling it from.
Yeah, I think it was Paul Barrere said that he felt like there's that energy exchange happening, and Scramble's kind of just dropping a lens into it, kind of a prism and diverting it, and then putting it back in the stream, so to speak.
Yeah.
I don't know, obviously, like you said, it takes you 30 minutes to come down. Something really powerful is going on from the stage and the audience.
Yeah.
Have you contemplated that much, or in your own career, about the energy you guys? Every time you come on the stage with a band, people are just moved for whatever reason. And I wonder how you see that. Obviously there's nights where you don't get it back, and then what happens to Bruce Hampton when that's not?
Well, some of the greatest times we've ever played, nobody moves, and some of the worst times, people go crazy. They treat you like the Beatles or a politician, a favorable politician, and I'm never bothered about it. It's always nice to be liked, but it never has bothered me. I go do what I do, and if people like it, great. If they like it 10 years from now, 20 years from now, wonderful. If they don't like it, that's okay too. I enjoy it, and 95% of my career, I've liked what I've done, and I have incredible regrets that I wasn't Dickie Betts. No, don't. I'm sorry, Dickie. Don't cut that out.
Yeah, well, that one won't leave.
Okay. Ask another question.
Yeah, let's move on a little. I guess one of the things we talked about earlier was that relationship between the visual arts and music. And in the '60s, there were the posters and the live artists and the film looping, and that seems through the jam band label, or that improvisational movement that's happening now to be coming back. Can you talk about that from when you saw the '60s to now?
Well, it actually started with Fats Waller back 100 years ago. I feel they were the first jam band, but improv, and then Coltrane and Miles and Jimmy Garrison, Elvin Jones, McCoy, and the rest. were actually improvisational, but there were 10 tunes in one composition, you might say. I mean, people say, have you ever written any new material? I don't want to write any new material. I want to create it every night. You can take the head of a song and do 10 songs in that one song. And to do something stock and standard sort of just gets boring to me. I think you ought to collapse a song and let it destroy itself as well as put it up. And I think in that tune, you ought to create 10 or 15 other tunes too, while that one's playing. I mean, my goal is to do one song and do it for 2 or 3 days, but have it done 300 different ways. And life to me is a series of meaningless repetition, but make it interesting. And it's oops. Sorry, I got out of control there. But oh, where weren't we? All right. Yes.
So maybe I'm curious too about how you see like the role of visual. You know, like a lot of the bands that have become successful sort of in this newer genre, and even in the Grateful Dead, they kind of embrace this idea that it's bigger than just the music itself.
Oh, yeah.
And do you sense that there's a difference when you play in a small bar to being at a festival with art and different types of...
I try to keep my intent the same. I mean, it's wonderful to be in a small bar because the people are right there, and it's wonderful to play in front of 20,000 too, or 50. You know, it's when you get into a bigger venue, to me, it's like rehearsal. It's just like nobody's there. But it's very personal when you're in a 100-seat club because people are right on top of you, and you got to play harder there than you do in a cavernous place or a festival. And I mean, I like to go to small places myself. I don't go to big events. I go to small jazz rooms or bluegrass rooms or country rooms where there's very few people. And I feel that's where the magic is. It's not in events because it's a show. And once you get over a couple thousand people, it becomes a Broadway show, and you have an image to uphold, which is horrible. So you can't change or do anything experimental. And you got to be the same every night so your bass player can eat and you can continue the cycle. I mean, to me, it's important to drop a brick. It's critical. It's as important as an E note or a paradiddle or dribble a basketball. Just do something different, you know. If it takes dribbling, you must dribble. Or take an ironing board, for example. If you need to iron on stage. Doesn't matter, but iron. And oh God. Okay, I'm gonna, oh, stop it. Okay. You know, my uncle's buried under this patio here. Right here, yes. Haven't been here in quite a while. I used to sell candles right at this spot.
Do the authorities know about it, or is it on the down low?
Authorities know about it, yeah. He's buried here. This is where I sold candles as a child. But anyway, there was Portuguese invading here. We'll get, oh God, you're gonna have a long cut on this.
Yeah, that's all right.
But what was the last question?
Well, just talking about the relationship between the visual arts in the 60s and then now as it comes around again, and maybe how that's an element to the music, not necessarily the show, but or what it does for the music game, maybe, if you have some thoughts about that.
I mean, good music is timeless, isn't it? That just, you know, I mean, the stuff I play is from the 30s, 40s, and 50s, and it just, and there's nothing like family harmony. I mean, I play the Carter family all the time, or Bill Monroe, or, you know, or the great Delta Blues, and a lot of gospel music, obscure gospel music.
Yeah.
And that's the stuff that absolutely moves me as a purity, and it's hard to find much pure now.
Yeah, it's true,
You know.
and it's timeless. Like, I'm thinking about that song Yield Not that you do a lot. That's an old song, and it
It's
has
50
relevance today. Like, hey, I'm going away, don't screw around behind. I mean, how that
It's 50 years old, yeah.
And it still has power. I think one of the things I like about Scramble too is that, like you were saying, if you're going to do something, try to change it up or bring it. And I love that about Scramble. I've seen probably 15, 20 paintings of you in various configurations, and each one has a
It's
character.
different. Yeah, it's just different. he's simply amazing to me because every painting he's ever done is completely different than the one before. And, you know, I wonder when did he first do it? I don't know.
The live?
Yeah.
I think the first shows he did were local shows with the local people
In Orlando?
Yeah. And the Orlando scene, like, meeting some of his fellow artists, it's really, I liken their gang to a lot like my independent film friends that are in Hollywood, because they kind of shun Hollywood, but they also have to embrace it a little bit to make it work.
Right.
Same with Disney. Like, Disney's this huge, what can go wrong with commercial art? Or right, you know, I mean, there's certain elements of both. And these guys all have that in their work, but they're sort of in denial about it a little. It's interesting. So it's the environment with which he came up in is really kind of intriguing. But
Does anybody else do this sort of thing ever?
There's a few guys. There's a guy in New Orleans, Frenchie. You might have.
I know Frenchie.
Yeah,
Frenchie, I know.
Yeah.
I know him
Frenchie.
and I know he and Scramble are friends. Yeah.
And then there's another guy that I kind of put in the same group as far as level of painting is John Katie, who's out of Crested Butte. He's currently in India doing 100 paintings. They're making a film called 100 Paintings a Go.
Wow.
One day, every day they're doing a painting and live painting. But the thing I find really interesting also about Scramble is that he is very much a live improv musician in a way.
Right.
And
Well,
do you see that in his?
yeah, totally. I mean, he's very musical, and there's always a different space and a different tone and a different color in what he does every night. And yeah, he's musical and timeless, and his intent's always 100%. You know, I mean, he's there to play ball. You know, he's like pitching the 7th game of the World Series when he's up there. He means business, and I like anybody who means business when they're doing what they're supposed to do.
That's great.
And I mean, yeah, he's amazing, man.
Do you have some of his works in your house?
Yep. Yeah.
Can you
Yeah.
describe any of those to me at all?
Oh boy.
What would get you to hang a painting of your own band in your house, I guess is the question.
I haven't hung it yet because of the friends won't let me, and I don't think we have any paintings hung, but we have them displayed.
Nice. Well, it's less violent.
Yeah. Yeah.
No one asked them if they wanted to be hung or not.
That's true. That's true.
I just realized I was ordered to bring you a yellow pail and a brick, but I failed in my mission.
What yellow
Vince,
pail would be good.
Yeah, that's what Vince was saying, and if I had more time, I probably would have gotten one.
Vince was talking about a yellow pail.
Yeah, he said I should bring you a yellow pail.
He knows.
Yeah, so I'm thinking virtually about the yellow pail.
Yes, but bricks are critical. Yeah. Yes.
So, I mean, is color something that you think about in your world at all?
Yeah. I just hope, you know. I mean, music. I hate when somebody says it's colors, but it is colors. I mean, a different tone and different spectrum to it all, whether it be your first chakra or your ninth chakra or whatever. But it's if you hit a certain note, there's a certain color to it, whether it blossoms in front of you or is in the tonality of the guitar. And you know, I was in a session with a famous Hollywood producer once, and it sort of irked me, but he said, play purple. Now, the connotation of purple to most of us is that's our battle against gravity once again.
Yeah.
And gravity is not a friend of mine.
So you seem to be getting along okay with gravity, though. You're not falling over.
No, gravity's okay, and it's got humidity in it, and I don't fall too much, but you know, I collapse. Yeah.
Excellent. I'm trying to think what else. Do you have some other thoughts? I mean, a lot of the musicians, you know, you said you don't like to use that color analogy, but I think a couple of them have tapped into this idea that music and visual arts are really the same expression, but just different tools expressing it. So the tone of a guitar, of Jimmy Herring's guitar on one night, is the color that Scramble plays. Do you see it that way, or?
Yeah, I see everything in life that way. I mean, I see a Ford on the Sacramento basketball team. It's all flow and it's all intent, and you're either in the flow or you're not. And you know, I mean, you got to please yourself, and then maybe you'll please others later or before or whatever. But if, you know, you got to please yourself. I mean, to beat anybody and be competitive, I think is sort of silly, because there's always somebody better than you. There's millions better than you, especially me. You know, I feel I'm the 59,000th best guitar player that gets paid.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, if I'm in top 59,000, I give myself a .03. I know where the switches are, and I know you got to get your peg straight to get them tuned. Get your peg straight, which I certainly preach.
Yeah.
Get them straight. Yes, got to get your tuning peg straight.
Yeah,
but
they can't be misaligned.
no, they can't be misaligned. If they're straight, they work. No, but yeah, it's the same thing, man. Life's always film directing, everything. It's capturing the moment. I mean, Marlon Brando was a great songwriter. He just happened to do it in another idiom, but there's always a story in what he did. And, you know, baseball, it's the same thing. It's all math, and it's all that intent.
It seems like Scramble meets that challenge pretty.
Oh, yeah, totally, man. I mean, I'm sick of complimenting, but I've never seen anybody like him, man. I mean, just, it's fascinating. I mean, I couldn't do it to save my life. I mean, and, you know, you look at him over there on stage, and I mean, that cat's like, you know, in a Pentecostal Baptist church, you know. I mean, he means it. I mean, that's what it boils down to. He means it. You know, I've never seen him be bored, and he's usually on stage left and I'm on stage right, so I don't always see him, and the lights are weird sometimes, but man, every time I look up, he means business, you know, and that's what it's about.
Cool.
And he's also never in a state of becoming. He is, he was, and he is.
A lot of people I've asked, you know, so when did you first meet him? They're like, he's just always been there.
Yeah, he's always been there, yeah. And it's just a shame he moved out to Colorado. I only see him once or twice a year now, and he's, there's nothing else like it, man. And well, you tell me the other people, I know them, but they don't get on stage and do what he does. And
he's encouraged. There's quite a scene in Denver of live painting now. Like people are starting.
Are people appreciating him?
Yeah, there's a lot of people below him too, younger cats, and you know, some of them are just coming to paint live like a plein air painter would for hundreds of years. But other people are really getting into that moment. There's a guy named Tie-Dye Paul who, I mean, I've shot thousands of interviews with musicians and athletes and, you know, corporate people. This is the best 30 minutes I've ever. He's just this inspirational. I'm not a big fan of his output, but it's watching him do it. And same with Scramble. I mean, I love his work, but I also really love watching him.
Yeah, I like watching him, and I like his work also, yeah.
I like what you said about intent, though, because I always joke, like, thinking about Jeff Sight. My second favorite thing after watching Jeff Sight play drums is watching other drummers watch Jeff Sight play drums. And it's kind of the same as Scramble. I've watched other artists kind of.
Yeah, they're both. Jeff doesn't play drums. He does something else. Yeah.
So the name of the film is Scramble Vision.
That's perfect.
Yeah, we've been getting a lot of people to just look right down the barrel lens and tell me that they're watching Scramble Vision. But I know in your style, you may want to just vamp on that word for a little bit.
I'm watching Scramble Vision, straighten the lens. Is that what you want?
Whatever you want, man.
I'm watching Scramble Vision. Wait, I'm watching Scramble Vision. All right.
Do you have any other comments about art and music and energy or Scramble at all?
You know, it's sort of hard to talk about. I mean, you know, I'm usually one filled with words, and it's just, I mean, what can you, I keep repeating myself, but it's, you know, the guy smokes at what he does, and I enjoy it, and I'm glad he's there. And there's nobody else, like I said, for the 50th time. I keep
well, you remember I'm going to edit, so.
Yeah, I know you are, but hey, man, if you're in a bad mood and you just traveled 2,000 miles and your band has a flu, there's nothing better than to have him on stage, because he's going to lift everything up. I mean, if you're in a bad mood or whatever, man, it's always a pleasure to have him there. And And I don't know anybody that doesn't like him. Everybody. I mean, I talked to Paul Barrera, and he just went, he was thrilled. Do you know Paul pretty well?
Yeah. Well, I've gotten to know those guys through Sam, but we did some interviews and shot at the Paramount Theater in Denver about a month ago with those guys.
Oh, really?
And both Paul and Bill did interviews.
Billy and Paul are great, man. I've known them since the 60s, and they used to play, for $100 a night and sleep on the floor upstairs.
Yeah.
And they do 10 or 12 dates in a row,
Well, they're good enough to be humble, I think is what
they're very good enough to be humble. We're the same age, man, and I don't know how they do 800 dates a year. I guess it's because they got 40 people in the band.
Yeah, they got a big crew, and they're good people too. I think they just travel well together.
Oh, they're unbelievable, yeah. I mean, to keep a band together for 40 years, basically, it's unbelievable. And Billy and Paul and Richie,
Good time.
Yeah.
Intent, right?
Totally. Yeah. I mean, when you get over 50, it's all intent. It's all, there's no other reason. Yeah, I mean, there's, the girls ain't looking at you, the record companies don't care. So you better play at whatever you're doing.
Nice.
I mean, in this day and age, you usually get fired from the corporation, and you're certainly out of baseball by age 50. But, it's they're amazing band too, man.
There's so many. I mean, that's the thing that really is. You start scratching the surface of one thing, and I'm like trying to focus on Scramble, but it's uncovering all of this.
Yeah.
Bill Payne's artwork, his photography is incredible.
Phenomenal, and he just started a couple of years ago. I do one thing probably worse than any human being in the world, and that's run a camera or take a picture. I am the bottom of that. I'm 68 million. I cannot take a picture. It all goes wrong. It's interstellar conveyance or transmecularization happens. Something stops it from happening.
Well,
I can't do it. It's against gravity's law.
It's a gravity issue or something.
Totally, all gravity, man.
I believe it. And until I dump these cards onto the computer successfully, I won't believe that we shot this interview.
Oh, it probably won't show up.
It might not. Well, remember I sent you the link to that little yield knot I had with salmon, right?
Yeah.
You looked at that. So that camera, that old NPR French-made camera, it's the workhorse for years. I had shot hundreds and hundreds of rolls through it, never had an error. It ran beautifully, right?
Wow.
And I came to you before the Fox. I'm like, hey, I'm going to shoot some of the band. Is that okay? And you looked at me and said, well, it's fine with me, but I can't speak for the technology. Swear to God, that night, during that song, the error, it went out of sync twice. I still got most of it, right? And I never had an error on that camera again for another 5
Well,
years.
it happens. Gravity, I tell you this, I don't know who controls electricity, but I think it's Scramble.
Yeah.
Yeah, he controls most of the North American continent is controlled by him.
Really? Yeah.
Electrical wise.
He's the grid.
Yeah, he's the grid. Yeah. He doesn't go around bragging about it, but he should. He might later. Yes.
No wonder he was uncomfortable in my house, because I'm off grid at my house.
Are you?
Yeah.
Good for you, man.
Oh yeah, this film will get edited mostly off solar power as well.
Wow. How old are you? 38, 36?
I'm 42.
42?
Yeah. 43 this January.
What time were you born?
6:08 p.m.
p.m. Leo rising.
Yeah, Leo rising.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm a powerful cat, man.
You are.
That's why I've become a director.
You know who's got the same chart as you? Leo's with Aquarius, or Aquarius with Leo, or Michael Jordan, Jack Nicklaus, Babe Ruth, Hank Aaron, Jerry Garcia, Billy Bob Thornton, Obama.
I met Billy Bob briefly with Vince once. I don't remember where that was. It must have been a festival a bunch of years ago. And I didn't talk to him very much, but he and I was like I know if I hung out with that guy, we would figure some stuff out.
He's about as good a person as there is, man. I mean, plus the fact he's 80 people and one of the greatest actors that ever lived.
Yeah. Well, you said it right, man. When you get to a certain point, this is true in Hollywood too, and I learned that being there for a little while. If you're good at what you do, you can be humble and gracious. You don't have to be a jerk.
Billy's always gracious, even when he was eating potatoes, man, or even when he made it big, he was always. Nothing ever went to his head. It was just amazing, man. And he stayed Arkansas.
Yeah. That's good.
which is hopefully he'll always be like that.
Well, if you don't have any other comments or random thoughts, please.
I got too many random thoughts. It's
scrambled in there, I guess. Huh?
It's scrambled in there. Yeah, maybe I am Scrambled Campbell. That could be my name. Where'd he get the name Scrambled?
When he was a kid, he was a speed roller skater.
No joke.
And one of the guys I interviewed, Paul, told me that basically he used to scram. He was like this guy with really long legs and would scram around, and they called him Scram for a long time, and then it became Scrambled Campbell. So.
That's what's his real name? Bill? Keith?
Yeah. Keith Campbell.
Keith Campbell. And he's born in Orlando?
Yep. No, born in New Hampshire.
Wow.
And then moved down there when he was 2 or 3. I interviewed his parents, which was interesting too.
What are they like?
They're very supportive, Like,
really?
That's the thing. Like, I think,
great.
and that's what it is. It's like they didn't really push him towards art, but it became obvious. Like his mom said, it was pretty obvious that he had a talent for it. He could capture characters, And,
well, he's got a niche like nobody else does, and I'm glad to hear people are finally looking, because I mean he's in a tougher field than dancing.
Yeah.
You can be the greatest dancer in the world, and you're going to make $2,000 a year.
Yeah. Well, what I find it interesting mostly about this live painting thing is that, for Scramble especially, is that it's pretty rare that artists get to really enjoy their audience and interact
Never.
And sell paintings.
Never.
And
It's
so,
not been done that I know of.
That's what's kind of neat about the film. I've obviously watched a bunch of documentaries on artists before, just to get some, my brain moving in that direction. And most of them were about people in the past. And I love that this film is kind of happening right now. Whatever now is.
It's in the now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not in the never. It's that isn't. Yeah, he's the only painter I know that right there in the now, isn't he?
And then I'm asking all of you to use words to describe music and art. It's messed up.
Well, there's cliches you can say, and give me a year. I answered basically, but I didn't.
No, that's fine.
Give me a year.
We'll follow up. I think we're good, Bruce.
Yeah, we're real good, Eric.
I think we got some great material there.
Good. I think you can cut it and get a couple minutes out of it.